I would say the border, right? Border is a big one. What are they doing? What are they doing on the border? Here's Maxine Waters, cut 7.
I'm unhappy, and I'm not just unhappy with the cowboys who were running down Haitians and using their reins to whip them. I'm happy with the administration. We are following the Trump policy. He is the one that does not follow the Constitution and would not allow those seeking refuge to be able to petition to get into the country. What the hell are we doing here? What we witnessed takes us back hundreds of years. What we witnessed was worse than what we witnessed in slavery.
Stop for just a second. Now, that might sound like hyperbole or somebody who doesn't have any idea of what they're talking about. Every time you say, these are the seeds of what were planted in Germany, you get attacked. How dare you say that? Do you know what that was like? Yes, I do, and that's why I think we should stop it. She's saying that being chased on horses at the border because you're coming here illegally, that's worse than slavery. Maxine, you're either out of your mind or slavery wasn't so bad. Which one is it?
I know exactly which one it is out of those two.
I do too, but amazing. I don't think she does.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say next big story would be what? Terrorism and Afghanistan and the Taliban and what's going on there? Getting people out? People on the border that are coming through? Next hour, I'm going to give you something from Biden's first border security chief, the warning he is giving America on what is coming across our border is stark and hair-raising. So let's find out, what's our FBI director worried about today?
We do collect information very much about, I think the category that you're describing, we put in the category of racially and ethnically motivated violent extremism, of which the biggest chunk by far is racial or ethnic motivation favoring white supremacy. Mm-hmm. And so we collect information about that threat. We have, as you say, prioritized that threat at a national threat priority level.
Okay. So they're concentrating on domestic terrorism because it has exploded, and they're focusing on white supremacy. I think that's all what everybody in America is thinking. That's what the problem is, and they should be concentrating on that one. How about this? The economy. Gas is up $1. Up $1 since this guy got into office. Your groceries are going through the roof. Meat's up like 25%. Are they worried about inflation? Are they talking about inflation? No, they're talking about global warming. We've got to get rid of gas and oil. We've got to change the way our food is produced so it's sustainable. So much, this is so important to them that even genocide doesn't matter. Here's John Kerry in an interview with Bloomberg. He's asked about the switch off between working with China to combat climate change versus not working with China because they're committing genocide against the Uyghurs. Here's what he says.
Another issue related to China is importing of solar panels, because clearly a priority of the Biden administration is really addressing climate, but it's not the only priority. There are other things as well, such as the Uyghur situation in the West. What is the process by which one trades off climate against human rights?
Well, life is always full of tough choices in the relationship between nations. Yes, we have issues, a number of different issues. But first and foremost, this planet must be protected. We all need to do that for our people. The population of China, 1.4 billion people, they care about clean air, clean water. They want a planet that is respected and that they can look to for future generations. And they need that as much as we do. So the hope is that if our cooperation can come forward on this issue, that could perhaps open the door to say, you know what, we did it there. let's see if we can find a way to deal with cyber, or deal with nuclear, or deal with some of these other issues.
The Uyghurs.
And I believe there are clearly other areas where cooperation could produce something.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, the Uyghurs in particular, are very concerned about clean air at the concentration camps they live in.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Clean water. They'd like to have clean water.
They'd like to have any water.
Yeah.
You know,
that'd be
that would be
nice.
great.
That'd be nice.
That would be great. They'd also like to be able to go outside when they wanted to.
He actually compared what he's doing to Ronald Reagan and Gorbachev. He said they had big differences, but they sat down and they worked it out.
Yeah, that's a bad comparison.
Yeah, it's one way to look at it. It's
it
completely incorrect.
Well, I don't know which one's worse. Is genocide worse, or is a 0.8% Celsius temperature rise over a century worse? I don't know. I mean, they're basically the same thing to me.
It is hard to tell.
You know?
It really is.
It really is, because you could see, obviously, over the past century, how much worse life has become. You know, all these climate has really been the story of the past century.
I want to read something. This is from Congressman Billy Long. He's from Missouri, the 7th Congressional District. And he's written an op-ed for the Washington Examiner. Imagine this. You're taking your weekly trip to the grocery store. As the grocery store clerk tells you the total for groceries, your first thought is, no, there's got to be a mistake. It can't be that much. But you pay, you push your cart off to the side, you recheck the total item by item, and then sticker shock sets in. The clerk hasn't made an error. Welcome to America, Biden-Harris style. Hello, inflation. After cooking a high-priced breakfast in the morning, you head into work and notice the gas gauge is either broken or you're near empty. But gas is up 74% since January 20th. Now you realize that filling up is no longer an option. You tell the gas station cashier, yes, $15 on pump 12. Now with your gas gauge registering at just over a quarter of a tank, you hear on the radio that Americans are stranded at the mercy of terrorists in the Middle East. And now the world's greatest superpower has been rendered feckless. Like many Americans, you're thinking, what in the world is happening to America? And how did it decline so severely in 8 short months? I remember Jimmy Carter's presidency well, and as Yogi Berra would often say, it's like deja vu all over again. Those of us who lived through Carter's presidency felt positive that he would always be considered the worst president in our lifetime. Unfortunately, he has lost that title to our current president, Joe Biden. Today, inflation is hurting middle-class families. Excessive government spending is crippling our economy. A disastrous foreign policy is leaving Americans stranded. And China and Russia will soon be able to reverse engineer $85 billion of our military hardware that we left to the Taliban. Biden campaign on building back better. The reality is nothing has been better since he and Vice President Kamala Harris took office. In fact, they and their team of Obama administration holdovers are actively working against the interests of the country. For their dereliction of duty in the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, their total capitulation to China and other adversaries, their calamitous open border policies, their disastrous fiscal policies, their servitude to the radical woke left, and their utter failure to lead the nation, Biden and Harris should resign. Biden's not up to the job of being president. It's a 24/7 job, and he has neither the mental acuity or physical stamina to do it. When presented with options from intelligence officials and from those in Congress with knowledge of the situation in Afghanistan, Biden either failed to understand or completely ignored their concerns and advice. Instead, he executed a knee-jerk, politically motivated, botched operation. From commanding officers, people in the country, his intelligence community, the Pentagon, the CIA, the State Department, and the intelligence committees on both sides of the Capitol, he was warned that the only way to get our embassy personnel each American wanted to leave and our Afghan interpreters to get them out safely, the only way would be to use Bagram Air Force Base. When we vacated Bagram, it was a fatal error, as had been predicted. To add insult to injury, Biden's State Department gave the Taliban all the leverage in the world to take advantage of the delicate situation. Most people realize that you can't negotiate with terrorists. Biden handed them the entire country of Afghanistan and our state-of-the-art military equipment on a silver platter. As a result, several Americans are stranded in Afghanistan. The Taliban now has U.S. weaponry, and 13 American service members paid the ultimate price. All of this could have been prevented. To make matters worse, Harris claims she was the last person in the room when the decision was made to withdraw from Afghanistan to meet a photo op arbitrary deadline. If that's the case, she bears responsibility as well. In addition, the president and vice president have abdicated their duty to secure our southern border. Record numbers of migrants are pouring into our country. The drug and human trafficking business are booming. All the administration had to do with respect to the border policies was nothing. President Donald Trump was building the wall, and the Remain in Mexico policy was deterring illegal crossings. We saw dramatic improvements. Because they were Trump policies, the Biden administration hates everything Trump did, no matter what. We are now back to the dangerous open border days. This administration's incompetence and craven political nature are making people less safe. Meanwhile, in communist China, it's on the rise, forming an open alliance with the Taliban. Russia is getting an oil pipeline while American jobs are being destroyed, along with the Keystone pipeline. The Biden administration has already passed over $1 trillion of deficit spending, with another $3.5 trillion proposed. It's bankrupting our country with a progressive wish list. Furthermore, in an attempt to continue to politicize the COVID-19 pandemic, the Biden administration now wants to mandate that all federal employees, workers at entities receive federal funding, and workers at any private business with over 100 employees take the vaccine. Biden even said verbatim that this was no longer about freedom or personal choice. His administration wants to control your life and impose government regulations on your personal freedoms. This is a notion straight out of the Communist Handbook. I've always encouraged people to seriously consider talking to their doctor as to whether to take the vaccine or not. Receiving the vaccine should always remain a personal choice. When Republicans take back the House and the Senate, we will hold this entire administration accountable. In the meantime, someone must be held responsible for the disastrous state of our government. If the Democrats can impeach Trump for a phone call, Biden and Harris must be removed for their total and complete dereliction of duty. If the Democrats in Congress won't do their jobs and remove them, the president and the vice president should do the right thing for the country for once and resign immediately. That is from Congressman Billy Long from Missouri. Now, I just want you to know, while I agree with all of that, that leaves Nancy Pelosi as president of the United States. That may not be the best idea. But with that,
but it's hard to say that he should remain in office doing this job the way he's doing it, and she's obviously a big part of this. But his approval ratings are lower than hers now? Mm-hmm. Do you remember? Well, she's in some ways playing this in a smart way politically. She's just trying to not be seen. She's trying to make you forget she's vice president.
Yes.
She has nothing to do with this.
Yes.
Everyone's like, where is she? Well, she's being smart. She's hiding. Wouldn't you?
Yes.
Thanks, Kamala.
Yes, I would. Yes, I would. She is side by side with this president, though. And for him to have lower approval ratings than she has, do you remember just 3 months ago, the beginning of the summer, they were having meetings in Washington because her approval ratings were so low. Mm-hmm. They didn't know what to do about it, and they had all these meetings with all of these PR people. What can we do to get her approval rating up? Because she can't survive this. His are now lower than hers. And that's with the press really not holding their feet to the fire at all.
American Financing, NMLS, one.
Now view the chaos on the U.S.-Mexico border as a crisis and blame President Joe Biden and the media for it. 70% feel the border is a disaster, and by the margin of 54 to 37, most likely voters believe that a crisis was created by Biden and not Donald Trump. I can't believe 54 to 37. How was this caused by Donald Trump? Biden gets few points for reversing the Trump plan. 13% call his performance excellent.
13. Wow.
Yeah.
Shooting for the sky there. There's probably 13% of this population that's in his administration.
There's 13. There's 13%. There's more than 13% believe we didn't land on the moon.
I think I'm much more skeptical of the moon landing than I am of this president doing a good job.
67% say his handling of the issue has been poor to fair, with over half, 52, rating it as poor. Now, here's the key. The media coverage is just as bad. 73% disapprove of the media coverage, which only started to focus on the border as 15,000 migrants, many from Haiti, camped out under a Texas border bridge.
What would this be like if they covered it like a real news story? Because they covered it like a real news story, and I think it was like March, for a week. And his approval rating on the border went through the floor, as you'd expect. And then and honestly, you can give them somewhat of a pass here, as there have been nonstop various catastrophes they've also had to cover, from Afghanistan and everything else.
Well, let's not call them catastrophes. Let's call them what they are: humanitarian crises.
Yes, he has many of those, though I would also include things like inflation and spending and violent crime across the nation and all the other things that have popped up, the numerous scandals that we've had in this administration in just a few months. So they've been all over the place, and they haven't done a good job of covering those either. But the border started in March, and it's continued and gone off the charts ever since, to the point where the government actually had to adjust the top of their chart of how many people were crossing the border. They went literally off the charts, and they had to make the chart bigger to fit the numbers of people crossing the border. And it has gone on nonstop since March, and has totally left the media coverage until this new under-the-bridge situation popped up.
And they're not really covering what's going on. Did you hear the buses that the United States is providing to ship them to the airplane or wherever? They're now hijacking. They have hijacked the buses.
What?
Yeah. Hijack the buses. It's like Con Air.
We are screwed.
This is the Glenn Beck.
Hello, America. Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. Pat Gray joining us from Pat Gray Unleashed now. Pat, I just thought I'd give you some breaking news.
All right.
Haiti is very upset with us now.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they're saying that it was inhumane to just put people on a plane and ship them over.
Wow.
I kind of agree with them, actually, because these people were not from Haiti. They had gone. Many of them had gone away from Haiti, and now they're going to a place that they really don't know.
They were already going to a place they don't know. We should be clear.
That's true.
Yeah.
I don't have... It's hard to have all that much sympathy for someone who is trying to come here to break our laws and get into our country and winds up back in their home country.
Except our own nation is inviting them.
Yes, it's more complicated.
It's more complicated than that. I just wanted to point out another country is mad at us.
Wait, no. Actually, we're back. America's back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're back. People love us again.
Is that
respect we demand is now here after Donald Trump ruined it.
You sure he didn't say America is turning its back?
No, I don't think so.
America is back, and that's why you can keep continuing to kick us in the ass? Is that because that's
America's
not our face,
back,
that's our back?
A kick me sign on the back of us?
It's not good. So Yesterday there was a White House squabble with Boris Johnson. You know, they took the questions, and Boris said, "Yeah, BBC."
Yeah.
And he takes a question.
Like any leader would do in this situation. Happens all the time.
No. I've never seen it. Has it ever happened? I don't think so.
Questions from the media?
No, questions from another. He taking charge of it and then asking for the questions. Has that ever happened before? Where he takes over for the American president and just starts inviting questions.
Well, usually what happens is they both get questions,
yes,
right?
Yes, but it's usually the president who would say, "Yeah, let's open it," but he's so out of it that I think Boris
I don't think he is.
Control.
I don't think he is that out of it. I am comfortable saying he is out of it. I am comfortable saying that.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I go back and forth a little bit on this.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that he's not very lucid when they, jack him up with drugs or whatever.
At some points of the day, yes. But if you go later in the day, which is why he doesn't, then he's, the medication is worn off. He's getting a little tired, and then the dementia creeps back in.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely moments where he's having major problems with this stuff. I'm reading Peril, this Bob Woodward, Robert Costa book that's out, and the one that talked about Mark Milley calling over to China. That's kind of that's how the book starts, that whole exchange. But if you were to say that, what is the one defining characteristic that this book is trying to push across? Like, what is it trying to communicate to you? Obviously, there's stuff about Trump in there and how bad he is, because that's a large focus of it. But if there's one thing they're trying to push down your throat in this book, I would say is that Joe Biden is totally engaged in all of this.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
I mean, that is every single one of these scenarios. They go on and on and on and on about how engaged he is, how many questions he asked, how much he wanted to know every little detail. His staff was so annoyed with him because he kept asking for all of the little minuscule details.
BS. That's BS. I don't believe it.
So then it's Bob Woodward, who, I don't have a problem saying, doesn't necessarily tell the truth in all of his reporting.
Right.
Could
just be fake. Right? It could just be what they're trying to get across. Now, what's interesting
that
about
makes
this,
him just a tool, though. That makes that whole book simply a tool, and Bob Woodward a tool.
Yeah, and
I don't think I'm the first one that said that Bob Woodward's a tool, but
Woodward, though, takes real sources and basically believes what they tell him. So
no matter what.
Yeah, and mostly no matter what. So, like, he'll get 5 aides from the Biden administration, right, that tell him Joe Biden is super engaged and here's all these stories. What I found interesting about it, though, was the book was written, for example, before Afghanistan turns into a catastrophe, right?
Yeah.
Before the fourth wave of COVID, right? At this point, they're thinking, oh, he solved these problems. Oh, he's going to get us out of Afghanistan. And it's a way of showing Biden as super engaged to take credit for all the wonderful things he's about to accomplish.
Yeah.
Well, we now know all those things fell apart.
Well, his aides are liars, and they are.
Yeah, I think that's true, though.
So,
that's a legitimate
you look at the Boris Johnson, Joe Biden meeting the other day. As soon as Johnson takes a breath, his people are ushering the press out of there because they don't want Biden to be subjected to any kind of questioning. They know he can't do it. He's incapable of handling it. And so as soon as they can jump in mid-sentence from Boris Johnson, they rush everybody out of it so nobody has a chance to ask him anything.
Play that audio. Here's the
weird. It is.
Here's the audio.
That's the...
See? Okay, we're all done. Get out. Okay, get out now.
And Biden just looks at it.
Show him as hyper engaged in the policy details, the behind the scenes negotiations, all of that. However, the book confirms something that we said throughout the entire campaign, which was they literally did build a wall around him so that he would not have moments with the press. He would not have questions that would surprise him. They said they built a wall around him to avoid longer interviews because they knew eventually he would say something that got into the press and screwed something up. And they basically confirmed that, yes, he was hiding and using COVID to hide
in his basement.
In his basement so that none of this stuff would happen.
My gosh.
And just let Donald Trump be the focus of the campaign. Let him say his stuff. Let him tweet his stuff. Let him do everything. Don't make news. And that was the look. And we said at the time, I think that's a smart way for Joe Biden to run a campaign because he's obviously terrible. And anytime anyone thinks about him, they can't vote for him. So the only hope was make this all about Donald Trump 24 hours a day and act as if you're not even running for president. And that's what they did.
So I think the next shoe to fall, and I don't know. I mean, he could screw anything up. We could be in nuclear war tomorrow with France. The next shoe to fall, I think, is the economy. If you look at what's happening yesterday, the Fed announced. Now, the Fed chair came out, 6 months ago and said, we're not even going to think of interest rates until 2022, 2023. Okay, that's a long way off. Yesterday, they said they were going to end tapering, which is, end the free money giveaway. They're going to end tapering.
The nightly thing that they give away to the 12 banks?
No,
not that. They're not going to end that.
Not going to
You don't want to end that.
No, this is the
$50 billion a night to 12 banks.
I know. $1 trillion a month.
Still.
They are going to taper off on their buying of stocks and bonds, okay? To keep the thing going. The last time they did that, the stock market went down dramatically and everything took a bath, okay? So that's a bad sign. Then at the same time they said we're going to end this, we're also going to raise interest rates next year.
Wow.
So they're going a year early. And they've already made the statement where it's not even on the table. Now suddenly it's on the table, and they're going to do it next year. The economy, inflation is through the roof.
5.3% that they're admitting to. It's probably worse than that.
Oh,
and
it's
it will
much
be worse than that by the end of the year. I mean, we're fortunate that it's not 40% right now.
And, that could be in the future. I mean, and I think probably this was the first show that anyone in the audience, unless you're super into finance, heard about this Chinese company that is going under, it seems. Evergrande, is it?
Yeah.
And they are now not paying employees. Like, this thing seems like it's going out of control. And it's the
Lehman Brothers of China.
Have hundreds of billions of dollars in debt. And it looks like they're not going to be able to make payments on it.
Right.
And just that sort of force with an economy that's tied in like it is now, it's going to affect.
Can't they build
China,
an empty city?
They're the ones who are building them.
That's the reason.
I just
build a new one. Build a new giant city that no one will live in.
Yeah.
There's always a solution.
So if they go down, we have almost 90 ships off the coast of California trying to get into the Los Angeles port. 90 cargo ships. For Los Angeles to get backed up, they used to say one cargo ship is a really bad thing. One cargo ship waiting. Okay, they want to move these things in and move them out. They can't get people to truck it. They can't get people to move it. I mean,
no employees.
No employees. We have 90 cargo ships. So if you're waiting for something, has anybody else noticed you're waiting all the time? Somebody came to the house because, I'm 2 weeks away from finishing construction at my house.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. So finally, it's there's light at the end of the tunnel.
At the end of the tunnel. So somebody came yesterday, and they were giving me an estimate on something that will definitely happen in the next 2 weeks. So we're all done.
Right.
And I said, well, when is this? They said, no idea. And I said, what do you mean, no idea? And they said, I know, I hate saying that because I seem incompetent, but I'm telling you, the suppliers will not even give us an estimate on when it will come in.
My gosh.
And I said, have you ever lived in a time in America where this has happened? And she's like, no, never.
No, I started thinking today about if you're going to do Christmas shopping, I want to get that done early this year.
Yeah.
They're
going to be shortages.
There are going to be shortages of all these things, right? If you're trying to buy toys for kids and stuff, it's already difficult if it's a hot toy. Yeah. This might be. I'm a total procrastinator when it comes to Christmas shopping, but this is the year I think I might pull the trigger early.
I'm having a really hard time finding a Teddy Ruxpin. I really? Yeah, I can't
Really?
find them anywhere. Yeah.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, I had
And
a
I've been
12.
shopping early for it.
Oh, I
you
have
know,
12.
for my adult children. I need a Teddy Ruxpin.
Don't your adult children run your cookie company?
They actually do.
And you're
yes.
buying them Teddy Ruxpins.
Yes. Yeah. They run the company, but they're not that mature.
Well, they are making
It is a
cookies.
cookie. It's a cookie company.
I think this cookie should be 4 pounds. That's the sort of decision making you're getting over there.
And those are good decisions.
Very good decisions over at Kexi.
Car Shield.